What's going on, everybody? The world is a better place because you are here to join us. My name is Matt Brown, and I am the host of the Productive Conversations podcast. It is Monday, September 9th, 2024. This is our first recap of the 2024 NFL season here on Productive Conversations. This is our week one recap. And as before we get into all the good stuff and reflecting on the first week of the NFL as it is about to come to a close, I just want to remind you to like and subscribe to the Productive Conversations podcast on all podcasting platforms and YouTube. And thank you to Magic Mind for being our presenting sponsor. Get your one shot of Magic Mind. You take this shot right before your day begins, and I promise you your life will be 100 times better. More mental clarity, less inflammation, all thanks to the nootropics a part of it. And it just tastes good and it enhances your life. And to get an exclusive deal for your first subscription to Magic Mind, go to magicmind.com/PCMB and use discount code PCMB20 for 48% off your first subscription or 20% off your first one-time purchase. That's magicmind.com/PCMB and get 20% off your first purchase, or that is 20% off your first purchase or your first one-time purchase, or 48% off your first month subscription. You also can find the link in the description below on all podcasting platforms and YouTube. Okay, so as this is our third year doing this, going around the NFL, breaking down every single game. And yeah, third year's a charm. And I think we got a good grasp of it. So basically, the way it's going to go every single Sunday night after all the games are played, including the games that are on Thursday, or when we get to the end of December, or when we get to December Saturday games, or even they throw some Friday games in there like they did earlier this week, in fact. I will be reporting, recording, and reflecting on what happened in the world of the National Football League. And I will release it immediately after, and you can see how I feel about the NFL that week. Did the same exact thing with college football. That's actually up right now. Check out my week two reflection and reaction and recap on the college football season. So, week two of college football, you can see my reaction. It is now available at all podcasting platforms and YouTube. So, yes, and I record that in between the 4 p.m. games and the 8 p.m. games. And we got a good 8 p.m. game tonight on NBC. So, yeah, that's how this whole season is going to go throughout the fall, throughout the holiday season. And then we will go through our 22 weeks, and then before you know it, it's going to be February 9th, which will be Super Bowl Sunday this year and Super Bowl 59. And yeah, then that'll be another year. So let us continue the road to that Super Bowl and talk about week one in the National Football League. So I first actually want to begin with the Chiefs and the Ravens, right? Thursday night's opener, hell of a game. Lamar versus Patrick Mahomes once again on the Chiefs' home turf. A game that I included in my picks of the week that I was very short on. And the Ravens wind up losing to the Chiefs. A truly insanely fun game. Enjoyed every single second of that game. I really did. And, you just got to give it up to Mahomes, keeping them in the game as well. And the Chiefs doing Chiefs things. And this time they had horrible receivers all season long and still won the Super Bowl. Now you added Xavier Worthy, somebody on one of my fantasy teams, and he went off. Wasn't used a lot, but for the times he had the ball, he went off over 100. I believe it was 121 total receiving yards, gets a touchdown, and looking great. And they protected Mahomes, and Mahomes had no issues, no major issues going in this game. And give credit to the Ravens as well, as Lamar held his own and played great during the Thursday night opener. But there were some stellar mistakes, including the very last drive of the game where Lamar races down the field, Isaiah Likely looking like the tight end in Baltimore, but having him and Andrews as a great 1-2 punch for the tight end position is very promising for the Ravens. But yeah, it all came down to a literal foot throws it Isaiah Likely, lands right on the line in the out of bound on the at the end of the end zone. And well, they lose. And I just want to put this out there. Listen, I get it. Isaiah Likely was out, and it literally came down to an inch. And as relevant as ever in the term football is a game of inches, well, this is exactly what happened where the Ravens pull off the victory. Where the Chiefs pull off the victory, the Ravens fall, and who knows if they lose by a game, this could be a difference of between home field advantage or not. But I mean, shit, does it really matter with the Chiefs? But anyways, we are very aware of the fanfare, the extra fanfare the Chiefs get. And you could really tell the difference between this Sunday, no Taylor Swift involvement at all, no Chiefs, and how, I don't know, peaceful, relaxing it was. Not pushing the cultural relevance in Taylor Swift and the NFL and mixing all of that. And I've been on the record being very supportive of the Taylor and NFL mix, but I'm just asking you to chill out a little bit, not don't showing her too much like well they did, and we talked about it early last week, the Travis and Taylor stuff a little bit, but how quiet, nice and quiet it was our first Sunday in the NFL, and there wasn't any Taylor Swift to throw down our throats. But anyways, the just to wrap this all up with the constant refs, seems to be flowing the flags, and there was a lot of penalties in this game. A lot. Let me just get the penalty yardage just for shits and giggles, as they say. Yep. 13 total penalties, over 100, close to all right, 64 and 45. That's 109 penalty yards. Too much. Too much. But when you see little stuff like that, and the Steve Spagnuolo, the defensive coordinator for Kansas City, calling a timeout, and it was granted when that stuff is not allowed in the game at all, and they granted it anyways. And so many stupid penalties getting thrown the Chiefs' way. And with this play that was originally called a touchdown for Baltimore, and I know it technically wasn't, you would have at least think it'd be nice for once an unfair, stupid penalty was called against the Chiefs. But that's just what happens. We've seen it time and time again with these dynasty franchises across all sports, that just sometimes these teams that are on these insane runs just get the calls, which is just part of life. It is what it is. And as Ric Flair once said, if you want to be the man, you got to beat the man. And the Ravens didn't pull off the victory. And even before that, Isaiah Likely literal inch catch that was an inch away from tying the game, at least giving a touchdown and setting them up to tie the game. It would have been nice to also, we would have hit our spread because Baltimore would have gone for it, and our +3 would have hit. But that's sports, that's gambling, right? Ball don't lie. And yeah, you would just wish from these stupid calls, just give the Ravens this one and it would even out. But not today, clearly. Regardless, though, season opener really was a great game. A lot of fun to watch. Big fan of it. And it was a great start. And if anything, it's a good omen what this NFL season can become. Last year, lots of injuries, especially the quarterback position. And why don't we get some solid matchups throughout the next 16 weeks? Sorry, 17 weeks now. And that's what this game showed us. And good stuff there. Good stuff. Ravens and Chiefs. So moving on from that, and we were lucky enough to have an NFL game the very next night. And even if it's a clear cash grab, and even if it's just straight up, I don't know, grotty that they played this game in a country that is dealing with a bunch of issues and all of that, but we somehow got a good game. The Eagles and Packers went down to the wire. And of course, in his debut, Saquon Barkley scores 3 touchdowns, over 120 yards on the ground, and he helps lead the Eagles in a nail-biting victory over the Green Bay Packers. 34-29, Philadelphia gets the victory. And even in a stadium that did not look sturdy whatsoever, and playing on a field where players just kept slipping and falling, and well, it could have definitely been a contributing factor to Jordan Love's MCL injury. Luckily, it seems to only be sprained, and he could come back in a few weeks. But damn, NFL, you really want to put your players at risk to get a few extra bucks. I mean, what am I? I'm not here in the research department to see if these international games really bring a presence for the fans of the residents of that country. It seems this is just a vacation destination for very wealthy people and very wealthy fans of teams to go to another country to watch their team perform. And well, I would do the same thing if I had the opportunity to, but shit, all of that for that, and then it was a nightmare for the Giants. I mean, if a Giants fan just seeing Saquon own a pretty solid Green Bay Packers defense, and people just couldn't stop him in breaking tackles, making strides, whether he was making catches out of the backfield or just straight making a rush. Saquon Barkley looked incredible out there. I give the guy credit, and a nice FU to the Giants fans for letting him go. And I've been very vocal about my feelings towards Saquon Barkley, and those don't change whatsoever. I still think he's a traitor, and I still think he made one bonehead move, even if it was better financially. Even though we only found out he only got paid $1 million more than the Giants initially offered, and the Giants were willing to work with him, but he was ready to go in such a bitter way. And well, good for you, Saquon. Do what you can. Stick it to the Giant fans. Stick it to the Giants. They keep having these stellar games, but boy, gotta keep backing it up. But playing against a very good Packers team and the Eagles looking stellar themselves, offensively at least. Defensively, I mean, he still gave up 29 points to the Packers, and Jordan Love was using all his receiving options. And it looks like, I mean, Malik Willis didn't really look good in the last grasp of air, trying to make that Hail Mary. But I hear that they're speaking with Ryan Tannehill, and that seems to be a good decision if you were to have him step in for a few weeks. But of course, couldn't have written any better. I just wish I was not too busy on my Friday to realize I should really put at least 2 touchdowns for Saquon Barkley. I don't remember the odds, but it was probably worthwhile, and he got a third one on top of that. So, Eagles, you win this week. Good for you, Packers. Hopefully, the future gets a little bit better missing your star quarterback. And moving on from 2 stellar games on Thursday and Friday night, we got to Sunday, and it was a beautiful Sunday where I am in the Northeast. It didn't seem to have any. We didn't have any weather issues across the United States, and we got a very good, solid slate of games. Even though I am going to start on the negative and talk about my team and talk about how. Listen, I'm not going to scream and yell like a lot of Giant fans because what's the point? We've been on this road for years, years and years and years since Daniel Jones was drafted in 2019. The same stuff, different year, clearly. And what the New York Giants did against the Minnesota Vikings, losing by a score 20-6, celebrating their centennial with every great living Giant in the house or their family, and even in those questionable fashion statements you put for your uniforms, you played god awful. You were terrible at the run. Offensive line seems like it wasn't improved at all. Daniel Jones, I'll get into a second, but I can't defend you, bro. Daniel Jones, it's 6 years from this. The amount of opportunities my man has gotten, the amount of times I have defended Daniel Jones, and it's hard to say now that he can win in this league. The man is 100% healthy. You can't do the injury issue anymore. The man has somewhat improved weapons here, at least with Malik Neighbors, and you give that pathetic showing with some of the most mind-bending, head scratching, and outright stupid interceptions you threw on this Sunday afternoon, and just not looking pumped up. And even with your beard that I really thought would be a game changer for your look and your demeanor and your clarity, man, take some Magic Mind if you need to for that. But Daniel Jones, your performance was as bad as it got. And if we really have to look through the numbers, if you just also didn't see through the eye test as I did, look at right here. Oh, man, DJ. Well, let's look at this really quick. 22 for 42 in the air, only 186 yards, two interceptions, only 6 carries for 15 yards running. It's not going to do it. And then the Giants defense, that did not step up. That let Sam Darnold and the Minnesota Vikings, who come in with major injuries, they don't have their tight end. Jordan Addison gets hurt in this game. All you had is Justin Jefferson. And reckon I know that he's the Justin Jefferson. They still somehow get over 300 total yards of offense against you. Aaron Jones goes back to form, and boy, I still don't know why more people didn't go after him. The man stepped up in the playoff game last year against Dallas, and Minnesota picks him up, and well, Sam Darnold has some good momentum, going 19 for 24. I mean, my man was looking good out there. And what do the Giants do in response? Jack shit. I know John Mara is going. It looks like there's a good chance that John Mara is going to stand on business and let Dayball and Shane figure this out. It is fair to say that week 1 is the overreaction week in the NFL. But if we're in store for more horrendous performances like this, that at least we can't keep games competitive. And I think we know that this is a rebuilding year, that at least with a 6.5 point win total you're expected to have. A lot of people don't have expectations. This is your chance to improve. Doing what you did on Sunday afternoon at MetLife in front of your fan base, in front of the greatest Giants ever, you should all feel shame. And by the way, I don't think fans need to go out of their way to wait for Daniel Jones to leave the stadium to tell him how much he sucks. He's aware how bad he performed. I feel for Daniel, but man, you know how New York fans are. Gotta give them a reason not to be pissed off at you. And Daniel Jones, you played for so freaking horribly that you do have Giant fans pissed off at you. Year 6. And what's looking like maybe the worst NFL contract ever at $160 million, $40 million a year. And we know your team option is this season. And man, if you don't want to be remembered as such a true disgrace in New York City, you got to step up. You got to show that anger. You got to show the frustration all of these punk ass fans have given to you. And you need to take that energy. You throw the ball down the field. You prove the great rusher you can be. You prove the deep ball that you have the ability to throw and your accuracy, and you have solid weapons that can make you look so much better. Or you could just say whatever. You could seem to not care. You can have that long face. And then, well, you'll be the Jamarcus Russell of the New York Giants franchise. Or better yet, you'll just be known as a pathetic loser. Step up, Daniel. You have it in you. Don't give fans a reason to clown you. Don't give these fans a reason to clown you. And that's what I have to say with that. Tough loss for the Giants. We'll see what happens against the Commanders next week. And the Vikings, good start for them. All right, let's continue on, my friends. Let us continue on after all of that stuff about my team. The Patriots and the Bengals, though. Joe Burrow comes back. You're home. Everybody's dressed in orange. You got to feel good going into this game against a team that is expected to be one of the worst, if not the worst. Reckon they are starting a new chapter with Jerome Mayo and, the Patriots with no pressure whatsoever. And what do? You go down to Cincy. There's a very good team, and you win. shouts to the Patriots for that. Good job, Rodamore Stevenson. Good for my fantasy team. And just uh, pounding the Bengals defensive line where they had no hope whatsoever. 120 yards on the ground with 25 carries. Jacoby Brissett being the facilitator and great veteran quarterback he is. And though the weapons didn't have much going on, it was all the running game for the Patriots. You give credit to the defense with the defensive mind Jerron Mayo, somehow giving Joe Burrow a terrible game, only 164 yards in the air. The new acquisition, Zach Moss, only gets 44 yards on the ground. And what happens? The Patriots get a surprising victory. The Bengals really have to go to the whiteboard and see what the hell just happened. How are we not able to move to how are we not able to separate from this defense? How are we not able to stop the Patriots offensively at all? And tough loss at home. And, tip of the cap to New England for what they were able to pull off. Great win, being responsible for a lot of knockout pools to, crumble really. And, that's what's great about football. Anything really can happen in this game. And good stuff from them, and including things that can happen. We have the debut of the number one overall pick in Caleb Williams. People have been waiting years for his NFL debut. You're at home with the Chicago Bears with so much hype around them. You have a Titans team that they're starting a new era themselves. And, with Will Levis, see what he could do in a full season. Not much expectations, but maybe they could be competitive. And the Titans go to a solid 17-0 lead. And though Caleb Williams didn't contribute much in his first game, he's able to keep the team alive. And thanks to the special teams and especially the defense, the Bears pull off the 17-0 comeback. They win 24-17. And yeah, Caleb Williams, less than 100 yards, only 93 yards in the air. And DeAndre Swift, the rushing game didn't do much, but it was all the defense, baby. All the Chicago Bears defense, old school Chicago Bears defense. And Will Levis, though, if he was a little more competent, he would have stopped with the multiple turnovers. And maybe if he could just keep the team into it, maybe this game wouldn't have gone so ugly. I definitely would be a disappointing fan in Nashville if I saw my team perform the way they did, and it was all the defense for the Bears. But ultimately, a win is a win. Again, hats off to Caleb Williams for at least keeping them in there despite really playing awful. I mean, this is unacceptable. You can't have only 93 yards in your debut. Still waiting for that touchdown. Not one offensive touchdown in the whole game, all kicking and defense. But you know what? A win is a win, still counts, and the Bears pull off a miraculous victory while being down late in this game, down deep in this game, I should say. And yeah, I could give nothing but an ending with a Tyreek Stevenson's pick six, and then the Bears completing the 2-point conversion after that. Very good stuff in Chicago. Very, very good stuff. Okay, what else are we going to talk about? We got the Steelers and Falcons, right? It's announced that Russell Wilson decides to sit. And, well, I mean, he was injured with the calf. So Justin Fields goes in. And though Justin Fields and the Steelers offense didn't contribute much, similarly to Chicago's win, it was the defense manhandling Kirk Cousins in a pretty, pretty terrible debut in Atlanta and ultimately getting the 18-10 victory. And again, doesn't do much, but thanks to the Steelers kicking game especially, and Kirk Cousins with legitimate people to throw to, he was able to get Kyle Pitts a much needed touchdown to keep his momentum up. But throwing 2 interceptions, and TJ Watt just showing why he's the best defensive player in the league now after Aaron Donald retires. That is TJ Watt's doing. The Steelers get this big victory. And again, Chris Boswell, hopefully whoever had him in fantasy had a stellar day. But Falcons could not move the ball down the field. Kirk Cousins seemed lost at some points, despite um, again, despite the touchdown to Kyle Pitts, he didn't do much. And Bijan Robinson trying to get his stock ran the ball a lot, 18 carries, but only 68 yards. And clearly, maybe this was the genius behind the Atlanta Falcons picking Michael Penix Jr. in the second round, despite signing Kirk Cousins to this big deal. He has something to legit worry about, and his play has to improve, or he's gone. He might have a great payday, but Atlanta's ready. Atlanta has a team to go deep. It's all about the quarterback play. And then Kirk Cousins' debut doesn't make things look so promising. That's just how it'll be. Good stuff for the Steelers. Mike Tomlin proving why he's the best, one of the best coaches out there, coaching a heck of a game. And we will ultimately see what happens. We'll see if Russ comes back, but Justin Fields played well enough to keep the team into it. And good stuff there. And already then with this game, you have Jacksonville and Miami already starting in quite annoying fashion. Seeing Tyreek Hill get detained right outside the stadium, which absolutely baffling how it all had to turn into an ordeal. And shouts to Calais Campbell coming in and the other team is sticking up. They're willing to get, I mean, these guys are willing to get handcuffed as well. Those are teammates right there. Give props to Miami and the team camaraderie there. I want to say that. But luckily, cooler heads prevailed. It seems this police officer is, at least one of the police officers responsible for Tyreek getting arrested, is taking administrative leave, and hopefully people will be held accountable there. And I mean, absolutely stupid and unnecessary to see the guy on the ground. And hopefully, again, we'll figure out what happens as the days move on. But right after that, it didn't look so hot. Jacksonville with a hot 14-0 lead, but then Devon Achane running down, giving Jacksonville problems. Finally getting the ball to Tyreek towards the second half, and Tua was able to do. Him and Waddle stepped up more in the second half, and then ultimately they ran away with it. Dolphins look great towards the end. Get a walk-off field goal from Jason Sanders, and Miami starts a big victory. Starts their season with a big victory and win 20-17. Great stuff for the Miami Dolphins there. And Jacksonville again started off strong. Trevor Lawrence looking okay, and really Bigsby and ETN being a strong running back by committing, looking with promise. But Miami's defense stepped up towards the end. Offensively, they got in a groove, and then a 20-17 victory for Miami. That, well, the day started in an unnecessary way, but ends with a huge victory down in South Beach. Good stuff for Miami. And then we have the Bills and the Cardinals, right? The debut of Marvin Harrison Jr., a returning Kyle Murray for Arizona. Buffalo with major changes in their offense. See what they do. Josh Allen only responds with 4 total touchdowns, throws 2, runs in for 2. New members of his squad, like a Khalil Shakir, gets a touchdown. Matt Collins gets a touchdown. Keon Coleman, the high draft pick, was looking good out there. And though the Buffalo Bills gave up 28 points to the Cardinals, where their offense actually looked pretty competent out there, ultimately Buffalo gets the victory. They get a big win at home in front of the Bills Mafia. And maybe this is a good chance to see what Josh Allen has. Obviously, no more Diggs, no more Gabe Davis, who was a big factor there. Dalton Kincaid wasn't facilitated that much, but Josh Allen just carried the team himself. And though we do need the Buffalo Bills defense to step up a little more, you got to give a lot of credit for Josh Allen and the heck of a game he played. If you had him on fantasy, you were satisfied. 232 yards in the air, 18 for 23, 2 touchdowns, and instead ran in for 2 others. And their rushing attack looked really good too. James Cook could develop into an even better player down the line and a legit running back in this league. But watch out for what the Cardinals can do. Again, Marvin Harrison Jr. didn't do much in his debut. Maybe we'll see what happens next week. Try and figure out this offense. Kyle Murray looked okay out there, but yeah, all Josh Allen for this big Bills and Cardinals game that did go down to the wire, but ultimately ends in a big victory for Buffalo. Then we have the Texans and Colts. This was fun. Another game I picked, and by the way, I also picked the Miami game. And let me just confirm. And obviously, during my picks, we'll talk about it. But unfortunately, your boy, one more second. Your boy had a reverse sweep. So hopefully, none of you listened to the picks for this week at least, because I didn't hit on any of them. I did much better in the college picks, but it is what it is. We'll bounce back. I promise you we'll bounce back, especially after really taking in this first week in the NFL. But we have here the Texans and the Colts play a real thriller. It's probably one of my favorite games of the week, if not my absolute favorite. And you can attest this. You can attest this to the back and forth between Anthony Richardson and CJ Stroud. Maybe this could be a legit rivalry in this division with the Colts and the Texans. You got to be excited if you are an AFC South person. And CJ Stroud and the Texans offense are able to put 29 points and get 2 scores from the new Stephon Diggs joining the squad there. Joe Mixon looked awesome on the running game. And even when you thought they were done, the Colts would push back. And Anthony Richardson throwing a great arm at one point, throwing a 60-yard pass and playing a little more conservatively and using more of his head to hopefully doesn't contribute to another season-ending injury. But that was a great game. Stroud and Richardson, watch out for that. That could be a great matchup for years to come, and I hope it turns into a legit great rivalry. But Anthony Richardson with a lot of new guys, adding Alec Pierce's. All right, Alec Pierce was already there, but Alec Pierce was very underrated last season with Pittman, and what we could see what Mitchell could do for what the weapons could be for Indianapolis. But Indy's going to be a good team to watch out for, and they kept it close. Maybe some things to improve defensively. Maybe they could add some more pressure. Didn't add too much pressure to Stroud. That gives account this great line for the Houston Texans. While on the other side of that, Anthony Richardson was able to have a few extra seconds because their offensive line stepped up against a very good pass rush. Well, ultimately, this back and forth goes to CJ Stroud, but I would like to believe that the next time they play each other, it will also be a back and forth shootout. Fun game goes to Houston. Then we go to the 1 o'clock games. The debut of Jim Harbaugh in Los Angeles, and in a stadium that it looked like it was mostly Raider fans. Ultimately, thanks to the run game and Justin Herbert showing that he is a legit quarterback in this league, make it with these young receivers making him look good, and J.K. Dobbins with his best game in a couple years. We had a major knee injury in Baltimore that kept him adrift, if you will, that kept him off the field. And yeah, this was an awesome win for the Chargers. And, you know, Gardner played okay, but Devontae Adams didn't do much. Besides one moment with with Brock Bowers, the new tight end that everybody loves to clown for some reason for his hair, but he should be a great tight end in this league. Man's a monster, both on the receiving side and the man can block. Chargers looking awesome out there and a great win. And they were able to protect the Chargers were able to protect Justin Herbert. And let me give this Joe Alt, who was the number one overall pick. Sorry, the first round pick for the Chargers. He's picked fifth overall. We have Max Crosby, who is a powerhouse in this league, gave up zero pressures. Joel went up against the best of the best. Gave up zero pressures. Got to give a lot of credit to there. And it was a hell of a game to watch. It was very intriguing, and the Chargers did run away with it in the end, and Chargers get a big victory. And we have the Seahawks and the Broncos, where where we go with Seahawks and Broncos that at first looked like, we got some mistakes here. Gino was throwing picks, but then just so many mistakes. Bo Nix played all right, but he had problems getting with a lot of pressure going against him on the field, and I guess off the field too. Too many turnovers. Kenneth Walker back to form, and Geno Smith looking like a great facilitator as well. Though the game was close, Seahawks just pull away with a 26-20 victory, but they get the win at home. I feel like you should feel very good, especially with Geno stepping in and looking good out there. And yeah, the Broncos clearly have a lot of development to go, and and we'll see if Bo Nix can still hang. He played fine, but can't turn over the ball, man. Can't turn over the ball. And the Commanders and the Bucs at 37-20. Baker looking great. Mike Evans not aging, and things were looking pretty solid with the Bucs. For the Commanders, though, Jaden Daniels played all right. He played pretty solid. Got a couple rushing touchdowns. Had a hard time finding his receivers. Didn't give a lot of separation. And that gives credit to the Buccaneers defense. But at least Jaden Daniels played pretty solid, and that's the big thing to get out of this game. Jaden Daniels looking pretty good for the Commanders. And the Bucs, who were a playoff team last year, looking good with Baker. Cowboys and Browns, the deal went to the very, very last minute. But the Cowboys did make a deal with Dak Prescott. He got paid. CeeDee Lamb got paid earlier last week. And everything went right for the Cowboys. While everything seemed to go wrong with the Browns, the Cowboys, making a mess right here. Excuse me. So we'll say with the Cowboys, let me start this. Excuse me 1 second. As for what I was saying, once Dak and CD got the bag, they did nothing but create a great offense. They were able to get much separation from all the weapons. Brandon Cooks looked good out there. CeeDee Lamb played really good in the first half, not much in the second half. Tight ends looked really solid for Dallas. Dak was able to get the protection he needed. And yeah, 33 points against a Browns defense that people have high expectations for. Pretty solid. And as for Deshaun Watson, it seems that obviously next to Daniel Jones, a worse contract, but not by much, it feels like, is Deshaun Watson getting $230 million guaranteed and not doing anything with it. Having a hard time staying on the field. Obviously, we are all aware of his misconduct allegations. And I don't know, he switches jerseys. Therefore, he is not a good quarterback anymore, I guess. Just being desperate at some points. No, Nick Chubb is a bummer too. Jerome Ford, who was a solid backup last year, didn't do much. Their star tight end, Yoko, might be hurt. And yeah, if you're a Browns fan, you clearly are hurting, and you are clearly worried, and rightfully so. And you have a long season ahead if Deshaun Watson playing so neurotically, having no help whatsoever from his weapons either, but just not making good decisions on the field and maybe off the field as well, but not being accurate, not making completions deep, and Yeah, brother. Some things gotta give. Tough loss for Cleveland. Very good win for Dallas. And then Sunday night, a stellar. Here's my prediction. Similarly, with CJ Stroud versus Anthony Richardson being a great rivalry in the making, you might say the same thing for the Detroit Lions and the Los Angeles Rams. An amazing playoff game last year that the Lions were able to pull away. The history between these two franchises making this league changing deal, this historic deal. Golf goes to Detroit, gives that city hope again. Could be in the Super Bowl this year. Matthew Stafford already goes to LA, wins the Super Bowl with McVay. And then these two powerhouse coaches, McVay versus Dan Campbell, they gave us a great game once again, ultimately ending in an overtime victory for the Lions. And the Rams suffered injuries throughout both sides of the ball, but they seem to not miss a beat. And even in this shootout, though they lost, you should be very proud if you are a Rams fan of their team. And it took going to overtime, and the Lions marched down the field. They got the victory with a walk-off touchdown. It's a little different during the playoffs, as you know. They would have gotten a second chance even with the score touchdown, but not it being different. And hopefully Puka isn't hurt too bad. But Stafford facilitating all his other receivers and Cooper Kupp was Cooper Kupp again. But ultimately, remember, the Lions have a great defense. They know how to pressure. And Aiden Hutchinson, another top 5 defensive player in the NFL. He was able to take advantage of the guard that was the second stringer. And he did give pressure to Matthew Stafford all game, but Matthew Stafford at some points was a step ahead. But despite that, he still gave pressure to Matthew Stafford that led to some bad passes, to some turnovers and such. But the Lions just outplayed the Rams just a little bit more. And regardless, though, we saw a stellar game, and I predict that the Lions and Rams though they don't play much. They did play their one game this season. Maybe we see them in the playoffs this year, and this rivalry will actually be something. The Los Angeles Rams and the Detroit Lions in a rivalry. How about that? But great game throughout. Better team won, and we'll see how this all unfolds. But that will wrap up week 1 of the NFL season 2024. And I think it was a great week 1 podcast, as productive as it gets, if you ask me. And I hope you feel the same way. But yes, don't forget, and I'm aware, Monday night we have the 49ers and the New York Jets going at it. Monday Night Football, the first Monday Night Football game of the season. You will get a reaction to that no matter how the game goes on Wednesday afternoon. Sorry, on Wednesday when we have a reaction to that game. It'll be part of the tweet cap no matter what. Even if the Jets somehow win 50 to nothing, or the Lions with 50 to nothing, or it turns into this stellar shootout that goes into overtime, or leads to some walk-off touchdown or field goal, you will get my reaction to Jets and 49ers on Wednesday. I promise you. I promise you that. And it'll be a great discussion no matter what. So we will react to the Jets and 49ers on Wednesday, but that will wrap up week 1 of the NFL season and my recap here for Productive Conversations. Don't forget to check out my college recap as well, which is also on all podcasting platforms and YouTube. And yeah, let's have a great week. Let's kick some ass. Let's make some moves. And let's enjoy each other's company while we can, and enjoy your own company as well. So good times ahead, I promise you. And we'll be back here on Wednesday with a brand new tweet cap. Then we have picks on Thursday, then Friday with another tweet cap after that. So let's do it, my friends, family, and pets, and the greatest fans and listeners in the world, the Productive Nation. We'll see you all on Wednesday. Have a great week, and thank you to Magic Mind as well. Peace.